Laced Up Nation, what's really, really good? Though The Last Dance has ended. Episodes 9 and 10 finish off the series, and man, it was just so quick. I really enjoyed the whole doc, but it was just way too quick. I think they should have just done it maybe one episode a week just to drag it out, especially because, like, what else do we have to watch, right? Like, what are we gonna do with our Sundays? But let's get into these two episodes. First of all, I think that these two, I'm gonna have to watch it again just to define this. But I think these were kind of my favorite episodes because they had so much basketball in them. They were kind of the ones that had, they focused on the actual games and the three series pretty much, more than the other ones. The other ones had a lot of off-court stuff, a lot of background information from all the characters, which was really good. And I'm not saying that was bad, but I think that in this case, it was really important to highlight the two Jazz series and the two Pacers series. And the other kind of reason why is because that I really enjoyed it, is because this is kind of the years that I actually remember from being a Bulls fan, from being an MJ fan. Those other ones, obviously I was alive, but I did not have the mental capacity to be remembering what happened when I was 2 years old, 3 years old. So it's also a nostalgic reason why I think these are my two favorite episodes. But I think it was important to highlight that Pacers series because people really sleep and forget about that team, how good they were, how good Reggie Miller was at that point. And when you really think about it, it was probably, I think, the second time, it was only the second time that they got pushed to 7 games. And in this 7th game, it wasn't just like, they're gonna win this 7th game. Like, it was close. Reggie was balling. He was not scared. You saw the fight that they had, the brouhaha. That word's always funny to me, but Reggie was not scared of him. Like, he had respect for him. You know how he never called him anything but Black Cat or Black Jesus or whatever. But he respected him, but he was not scared. And he truly believed they had the better team. And so it was really interesting to see those games. And even though I knew that Michael missed that jumper, I think that was in game 4 or game 5. I don't know. After Reggie hit the shot and Larry Bird didn't celebrate because he knew they had enough shots, and Michael ends up rimming out. It's crazy that's how good Michael, and that's how, like, the aura around Michael is. That's how big it is, because even though we knew he was gonna miss it, he shoots it and you're still like, you're watching the doc like, oh, is that gonna go in? Yeah, so I thought it was really important to highlight that series, and I'm glad they spent like a good time showing the actual basketball of that. And then obviously the two Jazz series are important because the first one is obviously they're going for the back-to-back, but it has the flu game in there. It has Steve Kerr's shot, and so they tied in Steve Kerr's involvement and his whole background, which is it's a powerful story that he has, and it's one of the reasons why I think you gotta respect Steve Kerr, just all the stuff that he's been through in his life, and I think people forget about that a lot. But so that one was important, and then obviously the last one, it's The Last Dance. It's what this whole thing is about. His final season with the Bulls, the final championship, and wow, just those 3 series have a lot of important plays and a lot of great moments, ups and downs, back and forths. But it's hard to find any stretch, any little couple minutes of a sport, like, let alone basketball, but any sport, just a little stretch where one player really dominates and takes over the whole game. It's kind of hard to watch something greater or more impressive than what MJ does at the end of that game 6 in the 98 finals. Hits the shot, hit the free throws or whatever, one side, comes over here, steals the ball from Malone, comes down, call me, no timeout, which was the right call, by the way, no timeout, into the push-off, not push-off, I think it wasn't a push-off in my opinion. He touches him, but he doesn't push. Comes back. Just, what a great moment. And I get chills just thinking about it. And every time I watch it, it's just crazy. So I'm really grateful that these 2 episodes kind of focused on the basketball side, and they let the plays develop. They weren't just showing the highlights; they showed you like the full plays and whatever. So that was really cool, and that's why I think these two are right now probably my favorite episodes so far. Although the music was not that good in the last two. I thought it was really good for the first 8 episodes. The music was not that great for these last two, and I think that had to do with just kind of with the storylines not being there as much. Shout out to Rodzilla. Man, I just keep thinking like how could that happen? How would that be taken or received nowadays? Like, what player can you think of that would actually do something like that would get a pass like that in the middle of the finals? You're gonna go become a wrestler? Oh my goodness. Whatever. Anyway, shout out Rodman. The next thing I really want to get into though is the food poisoning. Okay, the food poisoning game, the flu game. We always knew it as the flu game, but I think for a long time it has already been like rumored and kind of known that he didn't have the flu. It wasn't quite sure. Nobody was quite sure what had happened, but I thought it was already proven that he didn't have the flu. So a lot of people now are like, oh, we finally get it confirmed, this and that. I don't know. I think that it was probably pretty common knowledge that he didn't have the flu. He had some type of food poisoning or something else. Now, let's go back what the story is actually right now. Michael Jordan basically confirms that he ordered a pizza from some random pizza place, the only place that was open at 10:30, and he eats the pizza all by himself. Nobody else in his room eats it, and then he wakes up at like 2-3 in the morning just throwing up, and that's basically what caused him to be sick. And Tim Grover's in the doc explaining how it was super weird that 5 guys came and they already knew that it was Michael Jordan. They kind of wanted to either get an autograph or get like a sneak peek, just to see him or whatever. And so they're kind of insinuating that these guys purposely poisoned him because they knew it was Michael Jordan and he was in Salt Lake City. And so basically Michael Jordan was poisoned. Not just got food poisoning, but he was actually intentionally poisoned to try to ruin his game and try to debilitate him for that game. Before I tell you what I think about that story and what I think actually happened, regardless, he was not right. He was sick. Something was wrong with him that day. And to go out there and do that performance, I know there's a lot of guys that have probably performed under similar circumstances, and maybe sometimes a physical ailment is not as hard as a mental ailment. So I know a lot of people have played after Isaiah Thomas played right after his sister died, a lot of things. So I although I think it was impressive, I think it's not any more impressive than somebody else playing. But the thing is that it's Michael and it's in the finals, right? So with the pressure and all of that, so that it's still a really impressive game. Now, I do not believe this whole story of like these kids, basically these young guys at the pizza parlor coming and intentionally poisoning Michael Jordan, because it doesn't even really make sense to me that like, okay, Michael Jordan didn't call, right? He didn't pick up the phone and call and order the pizza. Somebody did that for him, right? We gotta believe that. So if I'm that person, am I really like, hey, come give me this food. If it's for Michael Jordan, like make sure it's good. Like I'm not telling them who it is, right? So I don't think they knew. So maybe they knew that the Bulls were staying at that hotel, and somehow they knew what room Michael Jordan was in. I don't know. It's kind of like very suspicious to me how they would even know what room it was in, or what room he was in, or who the pizza was actually for. But let's say they do. I just find it really hard to believe that these people just like out of nowhere, they like get the order and they're like, okay, we're gonna poison it right now. We just have poison somewhere around here. Let's put it all over this pizza and let's give it to Michael Jordan. I don't know. That doesn't seem like too much of a believable story to me. I think one of two things could have happened. I think he either was just genuinely food poisoned on accident. They put the meat was bad or whatever. something was like just accidentally wrong with the food, or the other thing was that there's always been this rumor that Michael was hungover and just partied super late that night and just got sick and was just hungover basically for the game. Now that one I tend to believe more than the food poisoning, being food poisoned intentionally, but at the same time, it's like, who was he partying with? Like, where was he really going to be going? Like, if he was at a casino or something, or at bars, I don't know the scene in Salt Lake City, but if he would have been somewhere there, somebody would have seen him and somebody would have reported that. But there's no stories about that. So maybe he was just partying in his room? I don't know. That seems more likely to me than getting intentionally poisoned. Ultimately, I think the most likely scenario is that he was just accidentally poisoned. But I don't know. What do y'all think? What do y'all think actually happened with that story? The last thing is that, okay, I've talked about it a couple times here on this little Last Dance reaction videos, that I don't think that there's any way that they could have won 8 in a row if he doesn't retire that first time, because he was just too burnt out. The pressure had gotten to him. It was just, he just needed a break. He needed a mental break with all of the media pressure, all of that, with his dad dying, with him losing the passion for the game. I think that was the right decision for him. Now, at the end of 98, I think that the best thing for Michael and for the Bulls and everybody was going to be to try to do it again for one more year. Try to go for the 7th championship, try to go for the 4th in a row, try to go for that 99 championship. I do not think it's a lock that they win that one, because obviously we had seen them struggle with Indiana. Okay, the Jazz were still going to be good, but you know, the Spurs were starting to be good with David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and then the Knicks were starting to be a different team. So they were the ones who actually went to the finals. And Miami was good at that time too. So the East was going to be really, really tough. And so I don't know if it's a guarantee, but I think that the best thing would have been for them to try. And I think ultimately us as fans are the ones who get like deprived of that. But imagine like what Mike, and he said it's maddening to him that he didn't get that chance. He's never going to be okay with it. He's never going to be okay. It eats at him. And, you know, Reinsdorf is always going to say, like, oh, well, you know, how much would I have had to pay on one-year contracts and this and that. But I feel like I feel like I agree with Michael. If everybody would have been came together and said, okay, let's do it just 1 year. We've already done all this. Let's do it one more year. I think there's a way to work it out. Yes, it would have been hard, especially with Scottie Pippen's contract and what ultimately happened with him and all that. And the tension between Phil and Jerry Krause and all the players. But for one more shot at the title, for something that, you know, only the old school Celtics had ever done 4 in a row. That if you get to 8, there's only those old school Celtics and you. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I really wish that could have happened, and I think that was the right thing to do. It was wrong that they didn't get to do it. But, you know, there's a whole bunch of other situations and circumstances that may have not allowed that to happen. You know, that 99 season was a shortened season. Some people say that benefits a older team because there's less games. There's only 50 games. But then again, you're playing them in a more condensed timeline. So you're playing more games more rapidly. So you might actually be more fatigued even though you're playing less games. The other thing is Michael Jordan actually cut his finger opening a cigar. Go figure, he was smoking a cigar. He cut his finger open that supposedly required surgery. He was out for like 2 months. So would he have been able to recover and got his game back to the tip-top shape that he would have needed for sure at this point? Because they were kind of declining at that point to beat all the people in the East and then to beat whoever came out of the West, San Antonio in this case. So a lot of circumstances we don't know for sure, but I think it would have been really cool and it would have been right to see them try to go for one last championship. Well, that's pretty much it for the reaction videos. We do have one more video coming out, one more podcast coming out about The Last Dance. I'm going to be joined by a couple special guests, and we're going to be going over our overall reactions and takeaways of the whole documentary. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about maybe getting to the GOAT debate, getting into what this means for other documentaries going forward. You know, that Kobe one is going to come out. That one, you know, everybody is excited to see. So yeah, thank you so much for rocking with me. Thank you so much for supporting us, the channel, everything, likes, shares, everything. Keep doing that. We really appreciate everything that we get from you guys. What can I say? I love and appreciate y'all. Shout out Pete. Be easy.